Hello and thanks for joining us on this Friday. I'm Mackailyn Johnson. Here's a look at the stories we're bringing you this half hour. Days ago, a shooting at a Sherwood hospital left many people feeling unsettled. What local law enforcement want you to know to feel safe right now. In September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Just ahead, Naomi Ruckham shows us a special camp that allows kids fighting cancer a place to just be kids. THV 11 is your one-stop shop for all things Hog this weekend as the Razorbacks take on Alabama. Everything you need to be game ready in 12 minutes. Before we get to those stories, meteorologist Scott Covert is here with us, getting us ready for Friday night football and then the weekend, of course. What can we expect, Scott?
You know, it's been so nice the last couple of days, and I'm happy to tell you, Mackailyn, that nice weather is likely to continue for probably the next several days. It was chilly this morning. Some locations dipped into the 30s, but as you see now, we're starting to warm things back up. Very comfortable out there here at the noon hour. 73 in the capital city. Stuttgart still in those upper 60s, as is the case in Batesville. Hot Springs reporting 71, Pine Bluff 73, Searcy sitting at 72. It's going to feel fantastic the rest of the day. We do have a few more degrees to warm up before hitting that high temperature this afternoon of 80 degrees under a mostly sunny sky. The weekend looks just as nice. Tomorrow we start off the day in the 50s, warming into the low 80s with a bit warmer weather on the way for Sunday. Even then, not bad at all. 84 for an afternoon high temperature. Coming up here in just a few moments, we're going to take a look at that Friday night football forecast. I think you're going to like it. We're also going to take a deeper dive into what you can expect this weekend. And unfortunately, every passing day we don't get meaningful rainfall means we got to talk about that drought and what it means for us here in the natural state. More details on that coming up.
Thanks, Scott. And a THV 11 update. Wednesday's shooting at St. Vincent Hospital in Sherwood led to a massive response from several law enforcement departments. Some officials are taking this time to remind you how you can stay safe and prepared in a shooting emergency. We talked to the Jefferson County Sheriff, who says his department is always ready to respond to these emergencies, and staying on top of training is the best way to prepare. He says the department's special response team trains on a weekly basis for crimes like these, and getting the community involved is one of their priorities.
We just put one on a few months ago with the courthouse staff in Jefferson County, and it was really mind-blowing just to see how individuals respond generally to an event.
Sheriff Woods recommends everyone take a training course to be better prepared for the unthinkable. We reached out to St. Vincent to get an update on their safety measures moving forward. Hospital officials tell us they're still reviewing what happened before considering any changes. 5 white supremacist gang members have been sentenced to prison. The 5 people were charged with crimes under the New Aryan Empire Association. The original investigation started back in 2016. Since then, more than 50 people have been charged with crimes such as meth trafficking and kidnapping. We're getting more information this morning regarding the 2 Bryant police officers that were seriously injured in a vehicle crash this past Saturday. According to officials, officers Trey Davis and Tanner Peck are both doing a lot better this afternoon. Officer Davis received some good reports from doctors after having another surgery yesterday. They say that he can now start the process of healing and getting his strength back. Officer Peck is currently resting at home, dealing with a lot of pain, but he is on the road to recovery as well. Now, a coalition of 6 states, including Arkansas, is suing the Biden administration to block the president's plan to forgive student loan debt. Republican Attorney General Leslie Rutledge is leading the effort. They claim the president doesn't have the power to forgive up to $20,000 in loan payments. It argues Congress never spelled out that amount of forgiveness in the law used as the basis for the plan. It also requires a, quote, national emergency to be in place. And they point to President Biden's statement on 60 Minutes last week that the pandemic was over. And happening today, you can join Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson in getting a free flu shot. The Arkansas Department of Health is hosting a round of community flu clinics this week. The one today is at the Bishop Park Center. Shots will be given until 5 p.m. There is also one in Little Rock tomorrow at the St. Mark Baptist Church from 10 a.m. to 2. Both clinics are free for everyone, but if you have insurance, make sure to bring that card with you. And meanwhile, the pandemic has given many of us time to realize we may not be okay mentally mentally and need help. But here's a question to think about. What if mental health assistance isn't readily available? That's a startling reality doctors in Arkansas are noticing. And depending on your location, they say the help won't be easy to find. The Department of Human Services has mental health centers spread across Arkansas's 75 counties. But according to UAMS, the demand for mental health professionals is creating longer wait times for those looking to be seen.
Anxiety and depression there's been such a huge jump in that, and I just don't think the professional schools can get people out quick enough to meet the needs.
In 2020, UAMS created a mental health clinic service where anyone in the state can access care through free video sessions. However, even with virtual options available, there are still not enough mental health providers statewide, and state organizations are continuing to address this issue. We have more on their efforts online on thv11.com. Well, Ian is a hurricane again as it heads for landfall for a third time. Michael George is in Charleston, South Carolina, following this deadly storm's path.
Ian arrives in South Carolina today with hurricane-force winds and heavy rain. The storm isn't packing the punch it had in Florida, but it's still a threat to lives and property.
I think we're going to see a lot of wind. We'll probably see a lot of rain.
In southwest Florida, the view from above shows the massive devastation Hurricane Ian inflicted on beach communities. Houses were ripped from their foundations, leaving people homeless and in shelters. Emergency responders from the Coast Guard, National Guard, and other search and rescue teams have conducted at least 700 rescues so far.
There are over 1,000 dedicated rescue personnel who are going up and down the coastline.
Sanibel Island suffered major damage. The only road in has been washed away.
Everything on Sanibel is destroyed, that's for sure.
The Strader family rode out the storm in Sanibel.
The wind was coming pretty hard.
I was praying a lot, a lot.
The family had to be rescued after the storm, but their pet tortoises, the reason they stayed behind, didn't survive. Intense winds and flooding are threatening the entire South Carolina coastline. Here on Folly Beach, some race to evacuate in the final hours before Ian hits.
I don't think it's going to get any better. Definitely going to get worse. We're on the beach, so I think it's time to head out.
North Carolina's governor reminded people not to take Ian lightly.
And remember, it was only 13 months ago that Tropical Storm Fred brought destruction and death to our mountains in western North Carolina.
The southeast coast of South Carolina is known as low country, areas already prone to flooding. The storm surge there could be particularly devastating. Michael George, CBS News, Folly Beach, South Carolina.
And more Arkansans are responding to the call for help in the aftermath of Ian. Yesterday, Red Cross members left, but they aren't the only organization here in the natural state heading that way. Sheepdog Impact Assistance of Central Arkansas is gearing up to leave Sunday morning. The chapter commander says they've been helping those impacted by natural disasters since Hurricane Katrina and know all too well how much destruction can be left behind.
We'll help them get their flooded materials out of the home, get it cleaned up so it can start drying. They can start the recovery process.
Lewis says they're in need of a lot of things before they hit the road, like tarps, medical supplies, and chainsaw oil, just to name a few. If you would like to help them, we have a link on our website, thv11.com. And the Biden administration is ramping up its response to Ian's damage left behind in Florida. The president is promising his full support, especially when it comes to disaster relief. President Biden met with FEMA officials yesterday to discuss the extent of the damage. Now turning to the war in Ukraine, President Biden says the U.S. will never recognize Russia's claims that it annexed Ukrainian territory. Russia is trying to incorporate 4 regions after it held Moscow-run referendums, but Ukraine and its Western allies called them rigged and illegal. Meanwhile, Russia is opening draft offices near its borders as residents flee the country to avoid a mandatory enlistment. A recovery team has pulled up at least 80% of the wreckage of a plane that crashed in the water north of Seattle nearly a month ago. 9 adults and 1 child were killed when a float plane went down in Mutiny Bay. Weather conditions were too difficult for divers until this week. Efforts to retrieve the rest of the plane and bodies are expected to continue for a few more days. Well, kids, they just want to have fun, and Camp Sunrise makes it happen. More on the special camp serving families in the U.S. and Israel. Scott?
Oh, it has just been so beautiful the last couple of days, and I'm happy to tell you the nice weather hangs around for a little bit longer. We'll talk about your weekend forecast and what it means for any of those plans coming up when we return.